The coronavirus exposes the history of bigoted ideas like cleanliness, sanitation, washing your hands, and being clean. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on Vox.com. So, in what has to be one of the most ludicrous headlines that I've seen in a while, and I know I say this, and I save it for the craziest headlines, this is one of them. The coronavirus exposes the history of racism and cleanliness. So, apparently now it's racist to be clean. It's racist to wash your hands, to use soap, to practice sanitation, to have health standards. It is now a bigoted idea. Welcome to 2020. While the epidemic may be new, xenophobia has been intertwined with public health discourse for a very long time. Imagine being so woke that you believe soap is bigotry.
Soap is bigotry. Soap is bad. I don't like it. Only, how dare you spread those ideas of cleanliness?
Now, I don't understand where this person gets off, and I have a feeling that they're really dirty and unsanitary, let's say, in real life. This article is by Nyla Burton. Wow. Okay, and you have a picture of a guy wearing a face mask. Obviously, he's trying to keep himself safe from infection, from the corona. The coronavirus outbreak has created global anxiety since the first cases were reported in Wuhan, China late last year. So far, over 30,000 illnesses and 635 deaths. Yo, man, the numbers are way higher than that. China don't tell the truth. Yeah, I honestly do not believe the official numbers. I believe it's at least 3 or 5 times, maybe even 10 times worse than whatever the official numbers are. Why? Because China's run by the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party. They're corrupt, they control information, they censor, they even got a whistleblower killed because they refused to listen to his warnings 2 weeks before the outbreak even happened. A Chinese doctor died, and he tried to warn us all about the coronavirus outbreak. He tried to warn us, but the Chinese government silenced him because China is run by communists, and no one wanted to look bad. There's no accountability in China. I'm not even exaggerating. This is literally what happened. Like, if you think I'm exaggerating, no. That is exactly what happened. China sat on this problem for far too long. They tried to ignore it. They downplayed it. They thought, it's just a virus. It'll burn itself out. Wrong. Now the whole world is getting infected, and it's basically all China's fault. So these are cases that have been reported in mainland China, with cases in the double digits found around Asia, parts of Europe, Australia, and beyond. In the US, 12 people have been found to have the pneumonia-like virus, and certainly there's more. There's a long incubation period to this virus. I'm sure many more will be found to be infected. In response, Chinese citizens have been quarantined. Borders have been sealed, and travel has been banned. The World Health Organization, which is very corrupt, as we've found out, a lot of Chinese money, WHO has declared the coronavirus an international public health emergency. People like me were calling this an emergency far, far, far before WHO lifted a finger, but there you have it. Now here's the ludicrous part. Now we're going to talk about how being clean is a bigoted idea. But before we do, a quick word from this week's sponsor.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
And we're back. So, while the panic about a sudden deadly virus is to be expected, some fears, especially in North America and the West, have been based on something other than health. The panic has exposed a deep-seated xenophobia, and with it, a symptom of its own has surfaced. Hostility towards East Asian people. Citation needed. Now, I think I've seen a lot of the mainstream media claim that the current awareness of China and, I want to say, bad behavior and health practices, let's just say, is being exposed, but that doesn't mean people are suddenly becoming xenophobic. No, it just means that people are becoming aware of China's actions, most of which probably led to the outbreak of this virus. China's also responsible for the SARS virus, all to do with unsanitary condition, the sale of exotic meats, many of which from animals that carry many viruses and plagues, all from China. This is you don't get to pretend like, oh, China didn't do anything wrong. No, this is all because of China. And this is the second time they've unleashed a global pandemic because of lack of sanitation, lack of health standards, and the sale of exotic meat, koalas, pangolins, bat. All creatures which aren't traditionally meant to be eaten. In bats, for example, they carry 60 viruses that can transmit to humans. That's not something you should be eating. Washington Post reporter John Pomfret writes, "The middle school, a few blocks from my house, a rumor circulated, blah, blah, blah." Okay. So they go on to basically complain and say, this is horrible. They act like people's response to China unleashing the coronavirus is worse than the coronavirus. Like, let's say that you live in a world of, so let's just say that you live in a small town somewhere, right? And outsiders come in your town and they start hitting people, right? Just hitting them, not hurting them too bad, just like punching them on their arms and, ow, it kind of hurts. And then all of a sudden, people are like, I don't like that outsider. They keep punching me in my arm. Oh, you too? They punched me in my arm. I don't like that outsider. Is that not a rational response? Is it not rational to respond to the outsider punching everyone and causing everyone a problem as if they're actually causing some sort of problem, and maybe they should correct their actions? Maybe they should stop punching people. How is that any different than what's going on with the coronavirus in China? Of course, now they want to call it all some big conspiracy. According to Panic, or conspiracy theories, under the pseudonym Tyler Durden, the former of a right-wing financial blog called Zero Hedge. So now they're slandering Zero Hedge. I've used Zero Hedge in the past. I read there sometimes. It's not my biggest cup of tea, but there's nothing wrong with Zero Hedge. They're just journalists. They're no different than Vox, in my opinion. And at least Tyler Durden isn't spreading propaganda, unlike Vox, which spreads left-wing propaganda all the time. This entire article is a good example of left-wing propaganda. Now, they mention the fact that he brings up a Wuhan researcher at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and they're saying, this may be a bioweapon, this may be related to such things, and I believe that's a valid theory. So blah, blah, blah. They go on about xenophobia and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. It really annoys me. Now, I want to get to the meat of this article, which is the outrageous claim, because most of these Vox articles, they always start off with like a big paragraphs of propaganda to kind of like prime your mind for the nonsense that's about to happen. So here it says, xenophobia and the racist stereotypes of dirtiness. There we go. Being clean is xenophobic. So you heard it here first. Being clean is xenophobic, you bigot. You should not wash your hands when you go number 2. You should lick the toilet, because clearly being clean is bigoted. Maybe you should roll around in mud outside and not take a shower. After all, cleanliness is overrated. Take it from those Smash players. Who needs a shower? News of the coronavirus is amplifying a specific form of bigotry called Xenophobia, a hostility against China, its people of Chinese descent or Chinese culture. Look, I know a lot of things about Chinese culture, and I've seen a lot of what goes on in China. I've seen videos, okay? Let me tell you, a lot of it is horrifying. A lot of it is not, well, it's simply, I can't even say it here on this platform. I can't even describe to you what I've seen. So don't tell me about, it's just xenophobia, blah, blah, blah. No, be silent. You are allowed to criticize other cultures, other countries, and other people. You are allowed to have criticism. It has nothing to do with their descent. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with their ethnicity. China does a lot of bad things. It's a communist country. A lot of people are starving. The eating habits are very, very unsanitary, which is why these virus outbreaks keep happening. It's worth some criticism. It's worth some discussion. You can't just sweep it under the rug. This is what pisses me off the most. It's just pure brainwashing and programming. Like, there's nothing informative in this article. Nothing at all. Historically, in both popular and scientific discourse, contagious diseases have often been linked in blanket to population groups thought to be outsiders, he said. Well, when you belong to another country and another nation and another genetic cluster, there are certain diseases and immunities that you have in that specific population. Regardless of genetics, regardless of anything like that, the case is isolated populations will have specific immunities to specific diseases. For example, a disease might exist in China that might not exist in Europe. A disease might exist in Europe that might not exist in America. So when people travel from those places, they carry along their immunities with them and also the diseases. However, the people in the new location don't have the same immunity and will often get sick. It can start a plague. It can make people sick. Sometimes a plague is just a plague and it affects everyone. Equal opportunity plagues. Now that's progress. Association between germs and immigrants. Okay, so yeah, they're still going they're going on about this. They mention HIV and they complain that certain groups of immigrants are high risk because of their nationality. Well, perhaps it's true. Perhaps certain groups are at risk. We live in a world where the left-wingers and the left, they like to pretend like there's no differences between anyone and we're all absolutely equal. Like, these are important facts to know to protect your health. For example, African Americans are at higher risk of heart disease and blood problems, so it's very important if you're African American to practice good health, healthy heart behaviors, and lifestyle choices so that you can protect yourself because you're at higher risk. Caucasians, for example, are at higher risk for mental illness, so it's very important for white people to. So it's very important for Caucasian people to take care of their mental health and, sort things out. Every group on Earth has different things. Like, they have different health considerations. People in Japan, for example, the reason that there's a, like an anime, you're probably not a weeb, but there's a cliche in Japan where if you see something that turns you on, you get a nosebleed. Well, that's actually due to a genetic trait that a lot of Japanese have of, like, with their blood pressure, they're more easily able to get nosebleeds, arousal and blood flow and all that. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but people are not all the same. And it's important to know this because it's part of your health. It's part of taking care of your health. Part of it's knowing the risks. Wow, this article is absolutely trash. Like, I can't even explain to you. People who read this, like people who actually are able to read this and not have their heads explode, they are the most brainwashed people and delusional people you'll ever meet. The language in this is cultural Marxism. Essentially, it's culturally Marxist. Like, these are communists, these are socialists. This is insane. There's also the question of whether focusing solely on the many bigoted Western reactions to coronavirus is misguided. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that not wanting to die was bigoted. I guess I'll turn myself into the thought police. These people are literally acting like people's reactions are more important than the coronavirus. Like, sure, the whole world may get infected, everyone may die, but hey, at least Vox was able to virtue signal. Congratulations. You must be so proud. So this makes no sense. If China is failing, maybe there's a reason for that, and if the West is succeeding, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it has nothing to do with skin color and everything to do with culture and government. Maybe the fact is that communism just doesn't work. It never has and it never will. Maybe that's the issue, but Vox doesn't want to admit that, because if it did, it would break their whole cultural Marxist narrative. They don't want the West. They don't want capitalism. They don't want freedom of speech. They don't want freedom. They want communism, just like China. In Wuhan and other places like China, the situation is dire. As Chinese authorities scramble to build new hospitals, quarantine zones, the lack of available beds means many people with the coronavirus are being denied treatment in hospitals, which also means they aren't being recorded properly in the numbers now, are they? The official numbers, yeah, I totally believe it. In an interview Tuesday with state broadcaster China Central Television, Zhang Ronmeng, a member of the Chinese National Health Commission's team studying the virus, the medical researchers in Wuhan, especially the ICU team, are not enough to deal with this severe treatment. Now, they say that one thing people can do is donate to organizations on the ground. I do not agree with this. Do not donate China is, they're pocketing most of the donations, selling the masks for a profit. I'm sorry, but you can donate if you want, but I'm just letting you know. China is corrupt. They're so corrupt that rather than actually giving their people medical supplies, they'd rather just keep most of it and sell it off. Because that's just the place that China is. And you have to wonder, how, it's really no surprise how something like this could happen. How China could unleash a plague upon the world that may be the worst thing since the Black Plague. But yeah, okay. What a trash article. What a trash organization. Vox, I cannot wait until you crash and burn. You are run by communists. Cleanliness is not bigoted. It's called hygiene. And one of the reasons the Black Plague got out of hand was lack of so-called cleanliness. So Vox, you're stupid. You're dangerous. And I hope you crash and burn as a company. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Do you think cleanliness is a bigoted idea? Is it xenophobic to be cleanly? Be sure to let me know. Oh god, if you want to support the content, you can join me on Patreon or subscribe for as low as $1. Doing so will give you access to Fight Club, a private Discord server. There's also, you can also donate with Bitcoin or Subscribestar, and sharing the video is vastly appreciated. I mean, come on. Really? How are they possibly going to say that being clean is a bigoted idea? Like, what is wrong with you? Oh my goodness. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.